Hello, and welcome to Issues and Insights, the show that keeps you up to date on everything great going on in our community. I'm your host, Kendra Scott, and we appreciate you tuning in today. Our setting looks a little bit different. We are actually inside the studios or the offices of the Hardin County HCEC-TV studio. So we are doing a Zoom interview today, and I'm very excited about this new technology. So thank you for tuning in and joining us, and I look forward to sharing this with you. Of course, it's 2020, and this year has been unprecedented, to say the least. We're doing everything differently, from how we work to how we teach, how we entertain, how we educate our children, even how we spend our summer vacation plans. So, but one thing that has changed is also how things are done through the city of Elizabethtown. But what hasn't changed is their commitment to providing the best service and activities and thriving events for our community, keeping the citizens at the forefront. So today, to share with us a little bit about those changes and what we can expect to see in the rest of 2020 is Events Coordinator, Miss Sarah Vaughn. Welcome, Sarah. So glad to see you.
Thank you, Kendra. So glad to be here, albeit a little bit different than what you and I are used to communicating like, but hey, I'm always up for a challenge, so.
Well, challenge it is. Challenge accepted. We've got this. Well, just first off, tell us a little bit, how are you doing and the city doing amidst the pandemic? We've been under this now for several months. So how are things going with the city of Elizabethtown?
Kendra, they're going really well. It's funny because we've definitely lived a little bit archaically, if you will, when it comes to technology. And so COVID has pushed us into a much modern era, which I appreciate. But it is a learning curve, but everything really is going very well. We were able to actually open the movie side of the theater here at the Historic State Theater in June. And so whenever we opened that, I believe it was June 1st, we had our first movie, and we're at a less capacity, which actually doesn't affect us because we have such a large theater when it comes to movie showings. One great thing is that from the copyright companies, the movie titles are actually a lot cheaper. So we're able to show the movies at just $1 each. And we've seen hundreds of folks over the last month and a half now coming to our summer movie series. So we currently, for the rest of July, will show a movie on Wednesday at 11 and then another movie on Friday at 11 and 7. And so that's gone really well. As far as the events program itself, unfortunately, most of my press releases and efforts have been into canceling events, which is sad to see and quite odd for what I'm used to be doing at this point in time. I'm used to being so busy I don't have time to do anything else. But so it definitely looks a lot different this year. We did have to go ahead and make the call on Cruise in the Heartland, unfortunately. And it was the right call, seeing as what we're seeing right now and today's information coming from the governor's office. So it definitely was the right call to make in canceling the event for the year. But that just means next year's going to be hopefully bigger and better than ever, because people will have had to wait so long to get their cruise cars out. We were excited to be able to hold the fireworks, so we didn't do the festival side of things. And to be completely honest with you, I don't know that people truly missed the festival side. I mean, I'm sure that people did, but and we enjoy having that. But really, the fireworks are the shining star. That's the bread and butter of the event. That's what people come out for. So we were able to execute those socially distanced, safe, and in a great way. Thanks to the Hardin County Schools over at EC3 and ECTC in West Banco, we were able to execute a phenomenal fireworks show. And we were able to prove that, hey, we can do some outdoor things on a large scale in a safe manner. And so that was great to see. And I believe from the feedback I've gotten from so many, the community really wanted something. They really needed something. I think we all need that sense of normalcy in our life with everything being so crazy. So it was just a great celebration, and so we really like that. So moving forward, we do have a couple of concerts here at the theater that we have decided to move we keep moving a few of them. And so the next one was supposed to be August the 7th with Ronnie Millsap. We have moved that to December the 11th. The Terry Clark concert that was slated for September the 4th, that her team actually went ahead and did the canceling. And I totally understand why these artists, I mean, trying to travel the country right now is probably impossible. So they went ahead and canceled. But the good news with the Terry Clark is that was actually scheduled for an April 9th show, and we're adding in more artists. We don't get a lot of female artists coming through here, so I'm super excited. We've got Terry Clark, Susie Boggess, and Pam Tillis, and they call it the Chicks with Hits. So that is actually going to be coming April the 9th. That is actually a show that's outside of our price range on any other day, but because of everything happening and the cancellation, they were able to reroute that tour to come through Elizabethtown for next April. So it was huge that it's huge that we're getting that. We've kind of announced it here and there a little bit, but we don't have an official on sale ticket date or any of that just yet. We'll get that out to everybody as soon as we do. So thanks to Abound Credit Union for those shows and our concert series. Still hoping to hit off Aaron Tippin in November. So just check out our website, thestate270.org, and all of those concerts and shows are going to be on there. So one of the biggest questions I keep getting, of course, is what about the Heartland Parade? And at this very moment, you know, because things are so fluid, this could change in 10 minutes. But at this very moment, we are planning to have the Heartland Parade. I'm going to be getting out an official release as soon as a few things are lined up. I'm waiting on a couple of calls back from folks in our community that we rely on heavily to have this parade. And as long as, I don't want to name them because I don't want to put them on the spot and give them too much pressure here, but as long as we're able to pull off a few of those things that involve some of the schools and things like that, then we're going to be able to have a parade. So it might look a little bit different if you're an avid Heartland Parade goer. We are going to be accepting less parade entries to make it a shorter amount of time that folks are going to be on the sidelines of Dixie Highway. We can't allow the parade attendees to hand out candy or hand out anything because of the interaction that folks would have and the possible, hand touching and things like that. We've never allowed throwing of candy, so there's that wasn't permitted anyway because that's just unsafe for kids. So it is going to, and then we're going to have smaller participant sizes. So some of the participant entries were much larger and would have 150 kids or things like that. And so we're going to lessen those as well. So I have contacted a few local companies that are always in the parade. And I've said, hey, we're planning on having this. Go ahead and start on your float or whatever it is you want to do. And they're really excited. So the feedback we've gotten so far is that folks do want the parade. For the folks that might be watching and saying, is that really a good idea for the city to do that? My response to that question is that if you're not comfortable, then watch it on HCEC-TV. That's why we have great folks there. Gina and her team, man, they do a good job every year. And then you'll be on Quixie, maybe broadcasting live. I don't want to put you guys on spot there, but there are other ways of doing it. Greg with Kentucky's Heartland, he as well has jumped on board to help with the broadcasting side of things. So we just can't, we don't want you to not be participating, but if you're just uncomfortable, then we totally understand. We encourage people to wear masks while they're sitting on the sideline. We encourage people to stay either in their vehicles or near their vehicles wherever they can. Maybe we have a lot of people that tend to come downtown near the State Theater and City Hall. Maybe you spread out. Maybe you find a different location this year to watch the parade, which will start on the square and end at St. John Road. Do what makes you feel the most comfortable. Don't sit on top of the strangers next to you. You shouldn't do that anyway, right? So, so don't do it, especially in the middle of a pandemic. So really the social distancing and the attitude and the behavior of the sidelines of the parade goers is up to them. That's going to be an impossible thing for the city to try to dictate or force people. We're not getting into that. So so if we're able to hold it, again, fingers crossed, we have every plan to do so. It will be August the 29th, 10 a.m. downtown. The parade theme will be superheroes. And with that theme, it's going to be a little bit broader than maybe Spider-Man and Batman, but we're going to be inviting in our healthcare heroes, our grocery store heroes, our essential workers that got us through this time. Because, man, when I would go into the local grocery stores and I would see these folks that were just trucking along and dealing with it in the midst of everything, when we were able to go home, they're working 3 times as much. And so, so we really want to highlight them and shine, throw some love on them and let them know that hey, there are different capacities of being a superhero. And when the world is shut down, the folks that are keeping it going for the rest of us, they're our superheroes for sure. So we're going to be sending out a lot of those invitations too. We encourage the kiddos to dress up on the sidelines in their favorite superhero costume as well. And yeah, we just want everybody to get into it. Hopefully we're still going to have some cold air balloons going through the route. It's just going to be what it was planned on being, which is a Heartland Homecoming Day. And like I said, it might look a little bit different, but for the most part, not really. Just ask for everyone's participation in the social distancing and all that good stuff. So that's the parade. That brings us on to September.
Yes.
And
all my questions. I love this. I'm not even asking. I'm hoping you're going to talk about the wine festival, though. That's my big concern. That's the next one. Okay. Let's hear it.
Yes. So sorry, Kendra, I like to talk. So the wine festival is happening. Yay. Yes, that will be happening September the 19th at Freeman Lake Park. And what is the beautiful thing about that event is it's pretty much already socially distanced. It's out at the park. We will put in extra effort in separating the tables and things like that. We're going to separate the wineries under the tent with the tastings might look a bit different. We might have some spray painted lines where you need to stand as you wait for your tasting. But overall, it's going to be the same awesome event. We are not going to be doing like the grape stomp and a few things that some of them we actually planned on not having anyway, just because we felt like the event was kind of evolving into something different. But a couple of really exciting things that's going to be happening with the wine festival. One is tourism. Elizabethtown Tourism. They're our primary sponsor of the event. We have a great partnership with tourism all year long, and especially this year with this event. We would have had a big partnership too with cruising, but that's okay. So we're going to give them even more love on the wine festival. With that, we're going to have, if you've seen any of their marketing, they're doing a big marketing push of Bourbon's Backyard, and that Elizabethtown is Bourbon's Backyard. So we're going to have a Bourbon's Backyard table. They'll probably have some merchandise there for sale. We're going to have our wonderful bartenders with several bourbon drinks. So if you're not only a wine drinker, you're a bourbon drinker, you can get your bourbon drink there as well. They have an awesome menu with a lot of, whiskey sours and things like that, but they've actually tailored them and renamed them to something that is Elizabethtown centric and about our history. And they've done, Jana and Krista over there, they've done an amazing job with that marketing push. And so you're going to see a Bourbon's Backyard table. You're also going to see something else we're really excited. We're featuring Water's Edge Winery. So we have Water's Edge Winery, which is supposed to be opening very soon here in Elizabethtown, right downtown. Charlie and Tiana Watkins are a team that are putting this winery together. And it's actually a franchise winery, but it's the first franchise Water's Edge Winery here in Kentucky, and it's the first winery overall in Elizabethtown. So Charlie actually took me for a tour last week, and oh my gosh, it is beautiful. So Charlie is super, super excited about the wine festival. So they're going to be out there. Pretty sure Tiana's going to be out there unless she's just super busy making wine, which I understand. But they're going to be out there. They're going to have samples for you to taste and possibly glasses to buy. I'm not 100% sure. And I told them whatever you guys can pull off with everything they have going on in that time frame, then do. But they're going to be a featured winery out there with us. So the best news of that is if you taste a couple of their wines and go, we've got to go back, or maybe you meet Charlie and you just fall in love with them, then you can go to the winery that's right downtown. So it's actually part of the old Mulberry Helm School on Mulberry. And if you've driven past there, you'll see it looks very different than it used to. And I know I walked in there and looked around and I could not believe that's where we were. So it's super, super exciting that they're going to be on site. We're going to have live music at the wine festival as always. The event will start at 5 o'clock. Tickets are going to go on sale in just a couple of weeks. If folks want to check, make sure they like E-Town Events, Elizabethtown City Events Facebook page. We'll have all that information on there. Of course, we'll be blasting it on all of our media outlets as well. The pre-sale tickets are only going to be $20 per person. And then closer to the event, they'll go up $5. And then we're going to have a non-tasting kind of DD ticket, if you will, then that's for $10. So if you want to get in, but you don't want the tastings that come with the ticket and you don't want the glass, maybe you all bring a different DD, but maybe you want to enjoy the Bourbon's Backyard table. We'll also have some domestic beers available. Then you could go in under the $10 ticket. But with the ticket, you do get 8 tastings. And then you can also buy the glass or buy the bottle at the winery, at each winery. The awesome thing about buying by the bottle is that if you're like, I really like these 3, I want to buy a bottle of each. We have a wine check, like a coat check. So you actually buy it and you get it checked right at the table. That gets taken to the front. So you grab it on your way out to your car instead of trying to walk around with bottles of wine. So it's really super exciting. Just stay up to date on our Facebook, but also etownevents.com. If you click on the event logo, all this is going to be, as it happens, it will be updated on there.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I'm so thrilled that there's a winery coming to Elizabethtown. Whoever would have thunk it? I know, crazy. Will there be a limited number of tickets because of COVID and all? Will there just be a certain number of tickets and participants allowed at the wine festival?
To some degree, yes. Yes and no. So we can only in the area per the square footage and a less capacity, we are only going to be permitted to have about a little less than 2,000 people. We haven't hit 2,000 people at this festival yet. So to some degree, yes, but not really. I hope maybe we get to that point where we have to cut tickets off. That would be fantastic. The other great thing about having it out at Freeman is that let's say we do get to that point, we can actually make the area larger because it's the park. And we have more room than we really truly need for this event, and even more room than we really, that affects us in the social distancing and all of that. So yes, to some degree, there are a limited number of tickets, but at the same time, not where people say, well, we just don't even want to think about it because they're only selling 200 tickets and there's no way we're going to get in. That's not happening. So, the other thing I forgot to mention is that if you say, well, I'm not a Kentucky wine drinker, or I like this California wine or this such and such, we're going to have a table of wines that are actually outside of Kentucky, and that's the first time we've had that. So some of the feedback I've gotten from wine drinkers is that actually, my phone's ringing. That's the negative part about having in your office. Some of the feedback I've gotten from wine drinkers is that with only Kentucky wine options, they actually may not come based upon that. So we're going to have even more options there. So to be honest with you, we're going to have options for everyone. So if you have somebody in the family that's not a wine drinker, maybe they prefer a little bit of bourbon, or they prefer maybe even beer, we're going to have that as well.
Wow, so something for everyone. And I have a feeling, because we are all starved for entertainment and events and community activities, that you're going to be overwhelmed. Tickets are going to sell out because we have all, right, we have all missed out on having barbecue blues and bikes and the county fair and cruising. And so I think by September, we are all going to be so ecstatic to get out, and there'll be cooler and a chance just to get out and support a festival. So talk a little bit, I mean, and you have, about just how creative you've had to be with your events and activities and still making sure that things happen. But you've had to kind of take a twist and be more creative. So talk a little bit about how you and your team have had to kind of modify things to make it work.
Well, that was the interesting part for Founders Day, is that to some degree with outdoor events like cruising, like Founders Day, with the festival side of it, it really is impossible to invite a bunch of people into an area and expect them to be able to socially distance, or expect them to wear masks, or expect them to hand sanitize every 5 seconds. And so that's why when we looked at Founders, we knew immediately that the festival side of things, where you have a lot of kid related, we know kids can't stay off of on top of each other. It's just what kids do. And so we knew that with that side of things, we really couldn't even wrap our heads around trying to change people's behavior when it comes to those types of festivals, but was able to look at the fireworks and say, okay, fireworks are shot up in the air. Unless you purposefully get out and stand next to somebody you don't know, there's no way that they cannot be socially distanced. And so we had to look at a different area, and we moved them from the lake. So normally we had them at the lake. We've always had them there since Founders Day started 8 years ago, or 9 years ago now. And we realized that one of the things about the lake is that, well, it's a park. There's a huge lack of parking on pavement there. It just made everything to a level of difficulty that wouldn't have made it possible. The other thing is that with state guidelines in fireworks, you can only shoot shells sizes depending upon the zones and how many feet away structures and houses and residential areas are. And so the closer all of those things are to your execution site, the smaller the shell, the smaller the firework. So where we shoot them off, the best location at the lake, we can only get about a 4-inch shell, which is around 400 feet. And that's a great show for a lot of folks on Dixie Highway, a lot of the houses on the other side of the lake, and of course the people right at the lake. It's not a real great show for anybody outside of that vicinity. Nor is it safe to pull off on the side of Ring Road or pull off on the side of Dixie. So we immediately said the lake is not the appropriate location, and our staff started looking at other places. And that's why we went to the back of EC3, because of all of those factors that I just mentioned. And we were able to hit a 6-inch shell. We were able to go up 600 feet. And that's why you hear people now going, hey, I could see it from my house where I normally can't, because it went so much higher. It's why it was so much louder. It's why it was so much bigger, all of those things. So that was definitely a change for me of having to figure out a different way, how do we get more people involved by keeping them home, was very, very difficult. Cruising, we just can't, unfortunately. When we're looking at the parade, we've looked at different options in, even if we mark the sidelines, or even, there's all these other things we could do. But at the end of the day, we behave the way we want to behave. We do our normal, have our normal, communication levels that we are comfortable with. And so it has to be something we can set up and allow people to feel comfortable in those ways. And so, with the Wine Fest, we can take a few less wineries and separate some things and give some natural separation for that. But at the end of the day, people have to think about, in the fair. I remember talking to Greg Milby and talking to Marty Fulkerson, and they were so sad about that decision. But how do you abide by these rules in a format like that? It's just like cruising and BBB. It's impossible. And so the sad thing is that some of these things are just not possible right now. And it's very unfortunate, but we have to find the things that are. And then we also have to take our own personal responsibility in doing what we feel is right for ourselves and our family. And so that has been my biggest shift for people, is to say, if you're not comfortable coming to the movies or going to the fireworks, then don't. And it's okay. But I also feel like people, I don't want to miss out, and I haven't got to do this and I haven't got to do that. So yeah, so it's definitely been a change. And then we've also, like I said earlier, we've had to get a lot more tech savvy, which is not my thing. So so that's, yeah, like this is different, you know? So I can't even figure out how to get on my computer. I got to do it on my phone, you know, like it's just all the, it's all those little things. So, so yeah, and across the board, we've definitely at the city have gotten more tech savvy, if you will, and our poor IT department. Whew, let me tell you.
Well, they have been phenomenal, as have you, because you're right. It's hard making those decisions, and you have to put the citizens of the community first. And like you said, sometimes making those decisions for people, because of human behavior, we're not all going to follow the rules or do what's necessary. And while you're disappointed, I think that feeling of disappointment pales in comparison to the disappointment that would happen if you knew that someone got sick. Or if you brought it home to your family. So we always know, we hate to say there's always next year, but there really is next year. And so I know you're probably already planning and thinking and getting sponsors and things lined up. So people do want to get involved. Are you looking for sponsors and volunteers and support for next year's events?
Always. I am never not looking for more money and excuse me, and more volunteers, because those two things are still going to be necessary and needed for coming up events that we're hopefully able to hold. And obviously next year, we, for the sponsorship side of things, you know, I definitely didn't hit it too crazy hard, and I'm still not hitting it too crazy hard for the wine festival, because the few that I have talked to has said, it's just not going to happen. And I completely understand that. So, you know, definitely don't want to put people in a position of trying to figure out things like that. So that's the huge thing about West Banco and tourism. And they have been able, the great thing was is they already had those things budgeted. So yay. Very thankful for that. Tourism is a huge partner. They give $40,000 to the events program. And so it's not just the wine festival. They're helping pay for founders. And we try to do our best in giving them as much credit that's credit's due. And sometimes we just don't do a very good job of that, because folks need to know they allocate quite a bit of money for these community events to help us put that on. And so put all of them on. So thankfully for the wine festival, because of tourism's dollars, you know, between city and tourism, we're good to go, which is great too. And, you know, people forget that having events, we want to take as less tax dollars as possible to put towards events. It's just not necessarily a good way to spend tax dollar money. So that's why sponsors are so important. So I'll be hitting the sponsor trail hard, probably starting in the early fall and early of 21 for next year's events. Fingers crossed we'll have an even bigger outcome.
You make huge, grand events for our community, and we thank you and appreciate you. And thanks for taking the time to chat with us today. It's always a pleasure seeing you. We thank you for all that you do. Hope that you are staying cool and safe this summer. And we will hopefully talk to you very soon. So on behalf of HCEC-TV, I'm Kendra Scott. We appreciate you tuning in to this edition of Issues and Insights. I think you got a lot of great information. And if you're like me, you're putting those dates on the calendar and making plans for a fun-filled summer and fall and early winter, because yes, Christmas will be here before we know it, 6 short months away. So thanks again for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. I hope you have a safe and happy summer. Stay well, and we'll see you next time. Have a great day.